feel like I'm having such a good hair day today. I love it. Hi you guys, welcome back to our Monday chit chat. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you had a great week, a great weekend. It was beautiful here in Paris. We had a full Saturday of sun, which was amazing. It's so nice to have that after like 2 weeks of consecutive rain. It really is a sign that spring is on its way. Before we actually get into the chit chat, I just want to let you guys know there is a neighbor in my vicinity who is not only cutting tile on his balcony, but hammering it into his apartment. So if there's any awkward cuts or I seem confused, it's because he started cutting tile and I lost my train of thought. No, I'll cut it out, but it's just like obscenely loud. So I thought I would mention it. There's always gonna be noise in my videos just because I film from home and we have single pane glass. So just to let you know, if I seem confused, if there's a weird cut, that's why. I did such a good job of documenting every single thought I had last week, every reaction to every TikTok that I saw. So we have so much to talk about, and you guys once again submitted the best questions on Instagram. I swear you guys give me better topics to talk about than I give myself, so I so appreciate it. And I also just love hearing from you guys, whether it's a comment, a question, or a topic. I so appreciate it. And if you aren't already, you guys can follow me on Instagram. Every Saturday I put up a post where you can, like on my story, where you can send away your comments, questions, topics, and I will read them. So thank you so much. I can't wait to get to them. I am gonna save them for the end of this video. I thought I would start with a little recap of my week last week. There were so many things that went on. I went for dinner with my friend Maria. You guys would have seen her if you saw the studio tour I did. I showed her studio to everyone, like, so you could see what a single person studio would look like in Paris. So yeah, I went for dinner with her, which was really nice. I haven't seen her in a while just because we've both been on vacations, breaks. So yeah, it was nice to see each other after so long. I also finished, you guys might have seen, although there was very few of you, I totally get it. The Greece videos are not everyone's cup of tea, but I did post a tasting video and sort of a conversation video that I did with George, who is the farmer that I visited in Greece maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Oh my gosh, it doesn't feel that long ago, but it really was like almost 4 months ago. Anyways, I finally finished the video that we filmed together of us tasting his oils and pairing them with different foods, which is honestly just like, it's a very relaxing, calm, informative video. If you guys are interested in that, I won't be offended if you don't want to watch a 45-minute video on olive oil, but it is up. And I thought I would also mention to anyone who was asking, because when I initially put out the sort of conclusion documentary style video on my channel, a lot of people asked if George is selling his oils or how to book a tour, and I can happily tell you that his website is officially up. You guys can look at his products, you can read about the tours he does, and you can book all of that through his website. I highly recommend that if you go to Crete, you go and visit George's fields, you do a tasting with him. It's one of the greatest travel experiences I've ever had. I cannot recommend it enough. So yeah, that's very exciting. What else? Oh my gosh, John and I bought a drill. We are finally gonna get back on track for decorating our apartment. It's been a lot of on and offs. Pretty much ever since I left for Greece, we kind of put the decorating of our apartment on pause. But at this point, I am just so sick of seeing the half Christmas tree on our wall. We don't have enough storage. We really have to start building shelving in our bedroom, shelving in the living room. Up there, I need to get something more than just the white wall. And we also want to start our gallery wall. So we have a drill. That video is coming soon, and I just really can't wait to jazz up our apartment. The next point on my list is something we can probably all relate to at this time of year, but the sun is finally setting past 5 p.m. It's insane to think, or it's insane to experience your change in mood and personality when you get a little bit of extra sunlight per day, because over the winter when the sun is setting at like 4 p.m., it is just so sad because you don't feel motivated, you don't feel like you want to leave your house, you just want to curl up and hibernate all winter. And it's such a good feeling when not only are you getting sunnier days, but you're getting longer days as well. It just makes you feel so much more motivated. So it's so good to see that. It's like, yes, spring is on its way. I cannot wait. We also went to some museums this weekend and we did some exhibits. We also had a phone-free weekend. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, or maybe it's just me because I'm chronically online. But when you live with someone, whether it's a partner or a roommate, and you're both on your phones a lot, I feel like you just kind of get into a habit. It's easy to get into a habit of coming home, sitting on the couch and just wanting to relax, turn off your brain and go on your phone. Or after dinner, you feel, you know, tired, settled, and you go on your phone. And the more you do that, the more you take away from time that you spend with, whether it's your roommate or your partner. And John and I noticed that we were getting into this habit a lot more. So we really decided to make a point of having sort of a phone-free Saturday, a phone-free weekend as much as we can. Like, obviously, you do go on social media a little bit every single day. You do send those important messages, those important emails, but we really did try to have a phone-free moment this weekend. And I think, I mean, it obviously really helps, and it just reminds you how much you enjoy spending your time with your partner, your roommate, your family. I think it's just so important to disconnect. So we did that this weekend, and it also made me realize just how much I'm on my phone. I really need to either delete social media or put restrictions on my phone. You know, those like time restrictions where it turns off the app if you go over, because it's just so easy to waste your time and waste your life on social media. And TikTok especially, like, I'm on TikTok a lot. I like to get my news from TikTok, as strange as that sounds. I know a lot of people don't believe in TikTok being a credible news source, but I do think that it is a great way to get, like, to have access to independent journalism, like people who are reporting on something and living there and experiencing whatever they're reporting on. So I just think it's a different perspective of getting your news. So I really do enjoy that. And I had this feeling of FOMO, because I was talking about it with my best friend because she's not on TikTok. And I was like, do you ever feel FOMO, that you're missing out on cultural developments, you could say? Because, for example, slang is developed and then disseminated on social media, on TikTok, or memes, or I don't know. The one example I have in my head is Taylor Swift and the Eras tour. Like, it just, I don't know, maybe this is too niche if you're not into Taylor Swift, but hearing about the surprise songs that she plays, or hearing little snippets of comments she makes about a song, it's like, ooh, what did she say? So when you disconnect from social media, I at least feel like I'm missing out, like I'm not up to date with the latest slang, the latest news, and it's a really overwhelming feeling. But at the same time, I'm just going on a tangent and a rant right now. I also have had an increase in the nightmares I'm having, just because you see so much online, so many people talking about bad experiences or medical issues or disasters. And when you just like accumulate all of that exposure every single day, you can't help but feel more anxious that it could happen to you, or you're worried about other people. And I need to end this rant, but it's very, I think it's very harmful to consume this much content. We have access to so much content, and it's so easy and it's free to consume. And I just, personally, I really need to take more of a step back and to spend less time consuming that content. What else do we have? Oh my gosh, Valentine's Day was last week as well. You guys might notice my cute new earrings. This was Jean's Valentine's Day gift to me. I saw them in a boutique probably 7 months ago, so he went back and he got them for me. I absolutely love them. And I got Jean 3 different types of organic artisanal teas, and he loves tea. He absolutely hates coffee, but tea is his, I want to say favorite drink. I mean, obviously he enjoys sweeter drinks as well, but I would say tea is the drink he drinks the most consistently. And this year for Valentine's Day, we really did not do much. I made homemade pizza dough, and so we just, you know, spent the night making little heart-shaped homemade pizzas, and we probably played Overcooked. I was also on TikTok, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Trisha Paytas. She's like an LA icon, an LA influencer, but she's been creating content for a very long time. And she was doing this mukbang with her husband in the car. I think it was on Valentine's Day, and she was saying, you know, when you're in a healthy relationship, every day just feels like Valentine's Day, so you don't feel like you need to go the extra mile for the 14th of February. And I really identified with that statement, because I would say my relationship with Jean is the healthiest and the happiest relationship I've ever been in. And when you're in that kind of relationship, you don't feel the need to give or to receive grand gestures on one day of the year, just because every day of the year you make each other feel so happy and so special. So we've definitely entered that phase of our relationship where it's healthy, happy, loving, and we don't need to rely as much on the grand gestures that you might do in the honeymoon phase. And that also reminds me of something else. I called my best friend last week as well, and she said to me, she's like, you know, I feel like you don't have as many high highs anymore. And what I mean by this is, I really do believe in everybody's life, you consistently, like, life is a wave. You have really highs, and then sometimes life is a little bit lower, and then it's high and low, and it's just the flow of the universe. But sometimes the highs are insane and the lows are just so painful. And she was saying that it's been a while since I've really talked about anything that's been a really high high or a really low low. And my answer to her was just like, that is what happens when I think you're just in a healthy romantic relationship. Because instead of really high highs and really low lows, you just feel stable. Because when you have a really, I keep saying it, when you have a low moment, you have your partner there to support you. And I think that you don't experience the really high highs because you just feel content a lot of the time. And so, or maybe that's not why. Maybe because you don't feel the low lows, the highs don't feel so high. I'm not too sure how to explain it, but when you're in a healthy and happy relationship, you just feel stable. You feel loved, supported, stable, happy. And so I think you have a lower amount of fluctuation between the peaks and the lows, if that makes any sense. But I thought that was interesting of her to say about me, and yeah, I think it's just a reflection of the fact that I'm in a long-term relationship. Oh my gosh, I wanted to talk about this TikTok that I saw. It's so many thoughts. This American TikToker, I believe, lives in Italy, and she made this ranty style TikTok where she was saying that, she was complaining that Europeans like to say that they are morally higher, morally greater than Americans, and they complain all the time about American behavior, but that Europeans will tell people who aren't happy with the country that they're visiting or living in, that if that person isn't happy, they should just go back home to their country. And she called that behavior, I wrote it down because it was like craziness. Awful, ignorant, racist trash. That's what she called that kind of behavior. What I did want to mention about this, because I did look it up, but like, I'm sorry, you have to look at the amount of tourism that a country gets. And I'm not talking about number of tourists, I'm talking about per capita. Because if you look at Italy, which is where this TikToker is, per capita on the list of countries visited, Italy is 51 with 735 tourists visiting per 1,000 residents. Okay, keep that number in mind. Let's go to the US. US is 106 on this list with only 191 people visiting per 1,000 residents. Okay, this is almost a difference of 500 tourists and visitors per 1,000 people. It's insane. It's insane to think that there's that many tourists in a popular travel destination like Italy or France, or, I mean, so this is the thing, for the countries that have this crazy amount of tourism per capita, I think it's a lot to expect them to accept all the criticism they get, all the complaints that they get from tourists, because you just don't experience that in the USA. I don't know why I'm saying that, the US. I think as well that when you have so many visitors, so many people with a visa, so many foreigners that come to your country, whether it's to visit or to live, I would imagine that you feel your culture slipping away. And I don't think that this happens in the US because, again, the visitors per capita does not outnumber the amount of residents. But in Italy, where it's like 750 to 1,000 residents, it's encroaching on the local population and the local culture. So I do understand the feeling of being anxious that when you have so many visitors and so many tourists, by catering to them, by catering to their needs, you lose your culture in some ways. I do think that if you are willingly moving to a country to live, then it is important to, or even visiting, it is important to, I don't know, respect the culture and understand why people there feel threatened when they get so many complaints and judgments from tourists. I don't know if that was interesting, but I thought it was a lot. I thought that TikTok was like very angry, and I'm not so sure it was like a justifiable kind of angry. Okay, last topic I have for you guys before we move on to your questions. Again, it's about another piece of media that I consumed, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with the creator Damon Dominique. I'm sure if you watch my videos, you probably watch some of his as well, because he's a creator that lives in Paris. He's definitely an older creator than me. Like, he's been on YouTube and in the content creation space for much longer, and he's traveled to a lot of countries. I think in general, his opinions and experiences are very interesting to listen to. I don't watch a lot of his content. I'm not up to date on his personal life, but I really did enjoy the most recent video I think that he put out. It was called Why I Don't Post to YouTube Anymore. And he talked a lot about what it's like for content creators at the moment, which I identify with, because when you are a small creator like myself, I don't have any other content creator friends. When you're experiencing something that is challenging and you don't know if other creators are experiencing it as well, it feels a lot more scary. And so to hear his experience and to hear everything he had to say, I really identified with what he was talking about, and it didn't make me feel so alone. But essentially he was talking about why he doesn't post as much anymore, doesn't post as much to YouTube. And he was talking a lot about how at the moment short form content, TikToks, Instagram Reels are abundant. They are abundantly produced and abundantly consumed by people. And there is sort of this shift, I think, away from long form content to consuming more short form content, especially because it's so addicting to sit on TikTok and scroll. But in parallel to that shift, he was also talking about how there are just so many more content creators out there with all of these new apps, with the great cameras that we all have on our iPhones. It's just so easy for anyone to post content and post content for free, which means that it is just increasingly hard to be a content creator in general. And not just that, but I also have noticed, because I've been doing YouTube. Like, I started my channel probably 4 years ago. I didn't really take it seriously until about a year ago, but I have consistently always had brands reach out to me to sponsor my content, most of which I say no to because I don't want to promote things that I would never use or that I think is unethical, like fast fashion. And even myself, I've noticed that instead of asking to pay me and to sponsor my content to have like an integrated advertisement in a video, brands now expect you to do that for free, or to do it for free while being gifted something. And the reason there is this shift, the reason that brands no longer want to pay content creators to post about them, to post a review, to have an integrated video, is because there are so many creators that make this content for free. So I'll give you guys an example. I'm starting my hotel series in Paris. I am actually going to film one of those today, but to be able to review a hotel or to recommend a hotel, you have to go stay at that hotel. And I am going to do that for a couple hotels, but I am paying to stay. And I was telling my mom about this new idea because I want her feedback to, improve the videos and to make them as comprehensive for people as possible, especially my mom. Like, I want her opinion because she travels to Paris. I want to know what she would like to see in a video about hotels and where to stay in Paris. Anyways, she was telling me that it was a great idea, but she thought that the hotels should pay me to stay since I'm reviewing them. And I'm like, well, first of all, I want to give an unbiased opinion. I don't want to feel obligated to, speak highly of a hotel because they paid me and not because the experience was great. But also, why would a hotel need to pay a content creator when they already get so much free content from people who visit their hotels in Paris, post about it on social media? Like, it just, same goes for restaurants. Every single restaurant in Paris has 100 TikToks about that restaurant, about people recommending it or reviewing it. And it now means that you are losing that type of income to be sponsored by a brand. And the reason why I really identified with Damon Dominique's video is that even for me, I've noticed a shift, not just in getting sponsors, getting paid sponsorships, but also in getting the AdSense money from YouTube. When I started to take YouTube more seriously, which was about a year ago, I had perhaps 2,000 subscribers and I posted twice a month and I was earning AdSense revenue. And I thought, okay, if I commit to this, if I increase the amount of subscribers I have, if I post more videos, then this could be sustainable for me financially. And so now if we fast forward a year, I have 10,000 more subscribers than I did at this time last year. I'm posting probably 6 times the amount of content per month, and I'm actually earning less on AdSense. And so it's very frustrating from a creator's perspective to really be putting everything into your channel and to experience all of these shifts, like the increase in content creators, the decrease in payment, and just to wonder how you're gonna make it work, or if you're not good enough and you should just stop. I mean, I don't want to do that. I'm not at that point yet, but it is really helpful to hear the experiences of other people like Damon Dominique talk about how he's also experiencing that shift. And he even talked as well about how it's no longer sustainable for him to make the big travel videos, for example, because when you travel anywhere, like when I traveled to Greece, I took 1 month of work time and I put that towards Greece. I paid for the living expenses and the flight and the equipment and everything that went into the Greece trip. And if at the end of the day, if that doesn't pay off through AdSense or through views, then you not only just lost a month of work, but you also lost money in all of the expenses you bought. So for even him, he was saying that it no longer makes sense for him to make travel content because it's just so expensive and the return on investment isn't there. So I really appreciate that video. I definitely recommend that you watch it. And I just think that this whole commentary surrounding short form content is very interesting. I mean, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I think it's dangerous. Like, it's very addicting. It's too much content. It's too much exposure to literally everything and anything. And at least for myself, I have realized that I need to take a step back, and it'll be interesting to see if in a year short-term content will be as popular, or if there'll be more people of my mindset who are just like, no, this is too much. I don't know. It's definitely interesting. Oh, sorry. And the last thing I want to talk about, I have to talk about this, is this is going to feel random. I've never talked about this before on my channel. I've never expressed interest in this. So you guys will have to let me know if this is too out there, but Taylor Swift she announced a new album, The Tortured Poets Department, which is exciting. I mean, everybody who has been a fan of Taylor Swift and who watched her go through her relationship with Joe Alwyn is like very excited for this supposed breakup album and just in general to get new music from Taylor. But it bothers me the way that she's the capitalism queen, okay? She announces an album and then a week later announces deluxe version number 1 with this track, and then a week later it's deluxe version number 2 with this bonus track, and at the end of it, per album, she has 14 different cassettes, 27 different CDs, 87 different vinyls to purchase for this one album, and not only is it exploitative of your fans, because like Taylor Swift is, honestly, she is rich enough. She does not need to capitalize on album sales. She doesn't need to gouge her fans to purchase all of these different versions of her music to hear one album. And I also just think it's just insane. It's insanely bad for the environment. If you think about how many fans Taylor Swift has, I mean, like, just look at her Eras tour, for example. She's got millions of fans out there. Can you imagine if every single fan purchased every single copy of this album in every single form? It's just so wasteful. It's hunks of plastic being piled up in everyone's home. And I understand that there is this sort of collector element to it because she's such a popular artist, and it's very interesting to look back at her merch from her debut era. But it's just, I really think it's irresponsible of Taylor, like I'm her friend, I really think it's irresponsible of Taylor Swift as a creator, as someone who kind of brands herself as an ethical billionaire, to gouge her fans and to just create so many environmental problems. And the reason why I struggle with this is because I am a Taylor Swift fan. I mean, I did buy tickets to her Eras tour. I have listened to her music since it came out. Like, it was, her and I are almost the same age, right? So as she was writing these love songs and these breakup songs and these songs about her life, I really identified with them as I grew up, because I can imagine that she was going through similar things. Like, your first heartbreak, it's to hear that as you're going through your own first heartbreak is very powerful, and it creates this bond, this parasocial bond with a creator like Taylor Swift. So I am a fan in that sense, but I just am blown away by what I perceive to be this blatant disrespect for our planet, for people, for her fans. I don't know, I'm not a Taylor Swift commenter, but just I was so annoyed by the fact that she literally released an album and then a week later released the first deluxe copy of that album. I was like, are you for real? Are you for real that you're asking people to buy all this? I can't. Okay, all right, that's enough. That's enough of my ranting. Let's get to your questions. Okay, so first question is from Nina, who says, any recommendations on learning French? By the way, glad I found your channel. Thank you. I'm glad you found it too. I definitely have recommendations for learning French. I used to tutor French as well when I was studying, and it was very frustrating for me as a tutor because people would pay for lessons, and one-on-one private language lessons is not cheap. But you don't see the return on investment if you only take a lesson once a week, or if you only practice learning a language for 1 hour once a week. It's just like anything. If you do that with literally anything, a sport, a hobby, playing the piano, knitting, like anything, if you only do it 1 hour a week, you are very unlikely to improve. So I would say, if you want to learn French, if you're very serious about it, you really have to, number one, make sure you're practicing at least 3 times a week. And this doesn't have to be private lessons. I have a lot of friends who did the Lingoda Sprint Challenge and were very successful. The Sprint Challenge is where you sign up to do either one class every other day or every day. And if you complete the challenge, you get either 50% or 100% of your money back. And it really just motivates you for a month or two to speak a language every other day or every day. Like, that is the fastest way and the best way that you're gonna be able to learn a language. And I would also say as well, as annoying as it is, because myself, I struggle with this, but find ways to integrate French into your life. So instead of watching an English show on Netflix, watch a French show. And it's definitely annoying to watch a show. It's not annoying. It's less relaxing to watch a show that's not in your mother tongue, because then you have to read subtitles while you're focusing on the show. So I totally understand that. But if you find a show that's really interesting, that you're excited to go back and watch, and you listen to that show in French, then that will also help you. It's not just gonna help you with your comprehension, like your oral comprehension, it's also going to develop your vocabulary, especially on TV shows and stuff. You're gonna be getting vocab that's not classroom textbook language, which is what you're going to learn from a private tutor. I think it's really important also to consume media in French if that's what you're trying to learn. That's going to be reflective of how people actually talk in real life. I would say a really great show for this is Lupin, or Lupin. Lupin. I love it. I think that the vocabulary on that show is great. I love the plot. It's very interesting. So that's one show I watch in French. I love 10%. I don't think that translates to 10% in English. I'll put the English translation of 10% on screen. I think that's a great show, funny show. Love the actors in it. Again, great show on Netflix to watch to learn French. I think those are my only 2 tips because they're probably the most realistic. I also think the 100% most effective way to learn a language is to live in a place where you're going to speak that language. The drastic improvement of my ability to speak, read, and understand French happened when I moved to France to do my master's in French and made French friends and had a French boyfriend and bought my groceries in French. If you really genuinely want to become bilingual or fluent in a different language, you have to live somewhere where you're practicing it. Okay, next topic comes from Mahima, who says, talk about the job market in France. I'm from India trying to move to France for work in the tech field. And I can give you a very specific answer to this because last year, I would say 90% of my friends were people who came to Paris from India hoping to do their master's and to integrate into the life here, to find a job and to, move to Paris more long term. And so of the 5 Indian friends that I had, only 2 were able to stay. The 3 that left were definitely restricted by the inability to speak French. That was the #1 reason that they either returned back home to India or that they moved to a different city or to a different country, is that it was very challenging for them, #1, to find a job because they didn't speak French. There are one-off jobs where you will only need to speak English, but they are few and far between. They have lots of candidates. I wouldn't bank on that. You really do have to have a work level French to find a job here. And I say this because let's say you're working in tech and you are developing a product or you're improving a product for someone in the company, for a team in the company. If you aren't able to communicate with that team to understand what they need from you or how to improve this thing that they need, you're not going to be an asset to the company. You have to be able to communicate with other people in that company, and that is going to be largely done in French. On top of that, if you don't speak French, you are going to feel very lonely and very isolated. That was also the case for these 3 friends. One of them actually moved to Budapest and was like, wow, my life is so much better here. People are so much friendlier. It's so much easier for me to make friends and, to hang out with my colleagues and stuff. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the job market in France is difficult. It's even more difficult for people who aren't French and don't speak the language fluently. When I was trying to find a job 3 years ago, I applied to over 200 jobs and I got maybe 3 interviews. Keep in mind that I have 2 master's degrees, one of them in French from France. So it's definitely very challenging. You have to be motivated, you have to persevere. I am confident if you do speak French, you will find something. Ooh, the next topic is also very interesting. It is from Pia Castle, and she says, talk about finances, living with a partner, 50-50 or percentage. So, I have so many opinions on this. At the moment, Jean and I do a 50-50 split. We also got a shared bank account to pay for shared expenses like groceries, rent, electricity, insurance, internet. So yeah, we do, at the moment we're doing 50-50, but we've definitely talked about, and we're probably going to move to more of a percentage kind of split. The issue, I think, is when one person earns more, it can feel very overwhelming for the other person in the relationship to match what they are contributing financially. And so at the moment, because I have started my own business and I'm not working for an established company or anything, Jean does earn more than me, so it can be challenging for me sometimes to contribute as much as he can contribute to our communal life. There's other things as well that you have to consider. For example, I did my first master's in Canada, or my first degree in Canada, and that was a lot of money, and I have student debt that I also have to pay on a monthly basis. Jean did his education in France, which is largely more affordable, and he doesn't have any student debt. So that's also not another thing that he has to pay off every single month. So it's definitely situational. Personally, I think 50-50 is great if you're both on the same sort of playing field, but if you're not, I think the partner, I don't think it's a bad thing for the partner that earns more to contribute a little more to the communal life. At the moment, I'll be honest, this isn't a huge topic or concern for Jean and I, and I think it's because both of us are in this relationship with the mentality that this is forever. And at least for me, when I get married, when I have a family, when I have a partner, I am very much a shared bank account kind of gal, because no matter what happens, life is going, like ebbs and flows of life. At one point, someone will be higher, the other person will be lower, someone will earn more, someone will earn less. And if you're committing to a life together, you are committing to sharing each other's burdens, you're committing to sharing your life. And so I don't think 50-50 is ever the way to go in a relationship. And I'll give you guys a good example of what I mean by this. So let's say Jean and I choose to move to Canada, and I find a job because I'm a Canadian citizen. It's easy for me to find a job. Jean, who has a significantly lower English level than me, who is not a Canadian citizen, who does not have family in that country, he is significantly disadvantaged compared to me if we move to Canada. So in that hypothetical situation, if I found a job faster than him, if I found a higher paying job than him, which is normal, right? Like, you're moving to a country for someone, like he would be moving for me, you know? I think it would be up to me to contribute way more financially if that was the case. Like, that's a very hypothetical answer, but no matter what happens in life, whether you have a child and someone goes on maternity or paternity leave, if someone loses their job, if someone has some sort of crisis, like no matter what, when you choose a life partner, when you get married, I strongly believe that you now are committed to a shared life together, and that includes finances, and life just isn't 50-50. That's not how it works. So I just definitely don't agree with that as a long-term financial solution for a couple. I'm sorry, I can feel myself because I had to cut halfway through answering that because the man started sawing on his tiles. I just feel like when he's over, like done cutting his tiles, I'm so relieved. I'm just like, get the end of the question out and get it done. So I'm sorry if it sounds like that. It's, I'm scared that he'll start cutting tiles again. Okay, next question we have is from Kareem, which is a topic, and he says, the most affordable arrondissement to live in Paris. Oh man, this is easy. Anything with a 1 in front of it, anything that's outside of the city center is definitely going to be way less expensive. I think in terms of the absolute cheapest areas to live in, you're probably going to be in the 14th or 15th arrondissement, which are very residential neighborhoods, and they're residential neighborhoods that are great neighborhoods, but they're not like bougie neighborhoods. Like I would say 16 and 17 are known as the bougie, rich residential neighborhoods. 14, 15, you have just your, I don't want to say just your average, but like, you know, a regular French residential neighborhood. So it's less expensive there. And you also have places in the north of Paris that are statistically more dangerous. You have Barbès, Rochechouart, and La Chapelle, which are two metro stations that are known to be more dangerous, and so the rent there is subsequently cheaper. But generally speaking, anything with a 1 in front of it, so 10 to 20, is going to be significantly cheaper than the arrondissements that are like 1 through 9. And there are exceptions to that. Like, I mean, anything along the Canal Saint-Martin is very popular given its proximity to the canal. 16th and 17th, like I said, are very bougie neighborhoods. But yeah, hope that answers your topic. Next, we have Miss Diol, who says, with spring in sight, what are you looking forward to doing in Paris during the spring? Everything. I'm looking forward to having my happiness back into seeing the sun more. You guys know that I am a girl of the light. I love hot, sunny days. The winter is always challenging for me because you don't have the sun and it's always raining. I cannot wait to do everything and anything in the spring. I mean, I love just walking around Paris. I love having picnics on the Seine. I love playing pétanque outdoors. I think probably what I'm most excited for is to work on my garden. We're gonna start germinating our seeds. So that's not very Paris specific, but I so look forward to starting my garden every year. And outside of that, I would say I just really look forward to spending more time walking around Paris and enjoying the city. It's really crazy how much more beautiful the city is in the sunlight and in the good weather. It's just horrendous to walk around Paris when it's raining and gray skies. So yeah, that's what I'm most looking forward to. Definitely picnicking along the Seine is one of my favorite things to do with Jean on like a weeknight. I love to take our dinner and just go down there and eat along the Seine. Next we have Sharon, who says, I'm sorry, I don't know what this state is, NW, Ohio. Oh, I feel stupid. Let me look that up. Northwest Ohio. So I'm from Northwest Ohio, only 45 minutes from Windsor. What snacks could I buy when crossing for a day trip? Easy. Ketchup chips, coffee crisp, and maple syrup. These are, I'm pretty sure, only sold in Canada. Like some maple syrup you can buy it anywhere, but it'll be cheaper in Canada. And just chef's kiss. This is what I bring home with me every time I travel back to France from Canada. And then the last question is from Robin, who says, do you and Jean ever think of moving to the suburbs of Paris? Are they even called suburbs? They are called suburbs. And I'll be honest, no, we don't think about moving to the suburbs for a couple of reasons. One, they are definitely more affordable than Paris, and you'll have more space than Paris, like the city center of Paris. But it's not cheap enough to justify the downsides of living in the suburbs. And for me, that's going to be the commute. So to commute into Paris, there are a significant amount of trains and buses. However, given the population density of Paris, these trains are always crowded during rush hour. And when it's not rush hour, they are few and far between. I'm talking one every 30, 40 minutes. And not just that, but the trains stop going to the suburbs at around midnight, 1 a.m. And so it means that if you want to come into Paris to have dinner, spend a night with friends, go to a party, you're going to struggle getting back home, or it's just going to be very expensive to take a cab. So to me, moving to the suburbs is essentially the same thing as changing cities. And if I'm going to change cities, I'm going to move somewhere like Bretagne or Fura, closer to the water, or in the south, Aix-en-Provence, in the sun, or even just change countries. But yeah, the suburbs in Paris are great because they're accessible, but it's just not accessible enough for someone who enjoys going into Paris this much. I really do fear that if I moved to the suburbs, I would live a very homestead kind of lifestyle without the space of an actual homestead. I would feel lonely. Oh my gosh, I would not be able to be on my basketball team. I can't even, can you imagine me commuting an hour and a half to get to a basketball practice 3 times a week? No way. There's no way. For us right now, it's just not at all feasible to move to the suburbs. Sorry, as I was answering that question again, my neighbor started sawing tiles, and it's just so awkward to sit in your chair in front of the camera for 5 minutes waiting for that to finish. So my brain is kind of all over the place. I'm happy I was able to answer all the questions and finish this video even with that going on. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know what you think on Instagram. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, which will be on Thursday. I'm going to film Thursday's video today. I'm very excited. I really hope you guys enjoyed this new series and yeah, this new subject I'm gonna cover on my channel. I don't think I've been this excited to film a video since GROS. I had it on my calendar. I was like counting down the days and everything. So yeah, that's where I'm off to this afternoon. I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and yeah, I'll see you soon.